Hello, everyone. My name is Chitekuteku, and today I am very honored and excited to be interviewing very special students from Zimbabwe here today. All of these students are very passionate students in the aerospace industry and are all Space Scouts. Space Scouts is a new initiative that IgnitedThinkers has started to kind of group students across the world together and connect them because they all have a common love for aerospace. You guys can join the Space Scouts initiative, and all of that information will be down below in the description. All of these students are very unique. All of them on the panel have had different experience in the aerospace industry and have different aspirations, but they are all unified with their common love for exploring the world beyond what they can see. I am so honored to talk with each and every one of them today and learn about how they got into their current aspirations, what sparked their passion for the aerospace industry, and their current projects to progress deep space exploration. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Before we kind of get into understanding what we all love about space, maybe we can kind of go around and introduce all of these incredible guests on our series today. Robert, why don't you start us off with introducing yourself?
Thank you, Girika. Hi, everyone. My name is Robert, and I'm a final year student at the University of Zimbabwe.
Thank you. Fadzai?
Hi, everyone. I'm Fadzai Ryan, and I'm a final year student at the University of Zimbabwe too, and I'm studying electronics and telecommunications.
Awesome. Andworth?
Hi everyone, my name is Andworth Chitekuteku. Currently, I'm in my second year studying at the University of Zimbabwe, and I'm studying aeronautical engineering, specializing.
Perfect. Yeah, I think your voice got a little bit cut at the end, but it's really exciting to, learn all about you in the future and as we keep talking. And Bekezela? Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, everyone.
It happens all the time.
My name is Bekezela. I am at the University of Zimbabwe, and I'm in my 4th year studying computer science.
Perfect. And Mufaro.
Hi, guys. I'm Mufaro. I'm a Part 4 student. I'm studying towards a bachelor's degree in applied biology and biochemistry.
Wow. I love Mufaro's career specifically. I think I'm a little biased because I'm interested in aerospace medicine myself. So I'm very excited with all of the work that you guys are doing. And as you can see, all of the panelists have different interests and they're interested in different parts of the aerospace sector. So I'm really intrigued by all of your, passions. And so my next question for you guys is, what sparked your interest for aerospace? I know for me, it was going to the aerospace museum near my house or launching model rockets. And I know we all have different experiences. So I'm curious of, what sparked your interest? How about we kind of go the other way around? And Mufaro, why don't you, kind of start us off again?
All right, so for me, what got me interested, like I said, biology. So I read this article. There was this woman, she went to space, and there's sort of like this calcium bone mineralization that happens when you go to space. So I was interested in the biological system, like the adaptation, because you're changing, you're moving from this space, which has a specific gravity, and you're going to a different place. So I was kind of interested in like, how does the biological system adapt? And also there's this article, right? I love food, I'm a foodie. So it says that there are people, right, who've had their taste buds change, like their favorite food is not the same. So I'm like, is it the stability of the chemical components in the food that changes, or is it the body processes, or is it both? It's just interesting. It's fascinating if I could get to know exactly what happens. So yeah, basically that's that for me.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. I mean, reading the books, watching those videos, you're kind of curious, like, why? Why does this all happen to us? And so I'm really glad you're chasing after answering that question. Bekezela, what about you?
So for me, basically, I don't want to say a lot because I know I talk too much, but I'm going to try and narrow it down. But I would say my dad, he's the one who introduced me to this, because when we were growing up, he would make us watch Apollo missions as well as other missions. So when I was growing up, I wasn't really interested in it, but because we kept on watching it, now I find myself reading the stuff when I'm not with him and researching. And then I was like, this stuff is pretty cool. Then yeah, that's how I got to like it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's why I love Twitter, social media, all this traction that's coming into the aerospace industry, because when people see all of these exciting launches, exciting astronaut missions that are happening, like the Artemis mission, where the first, woman of color and woman is going to the moon. I think this is from the United States. I think this is an amazing initiative because it inspires students from the world. I want to be like that. I want to study this. So I'm really glad that your dad was an incredible role model for you. Yeah, Andworth, what about you?
Okay, since I was a kid, I've always been thrilled by flying machines, spacecraft, aircraft. So I actually grew up the airport being my favorite place. Just watching the airplanes land, take off, it was such an amazing scene for me. That actually led to the choice of my current degree program. But when I started aeronautical engineering, I realized you need to know more about the destination of these flying machines, the atmosphere, and I became more interested in knowing more about the atmosphere and space itself.
Yeah, this is what I love about space, is it unifies all of us, because, even from across the country, across the world from you, I still look at airplanes kind of going over my head too, and I think about how amazing that is. So I think we're all unified with our common passion, and that's exciting to hear. I'm glad you're pursuing this aeronautical engineering track. Fadzai?
Well, I think I can say I started loving space as a kid when, I'll just watch and marvel at just how expansive space is and just thinking about the vast power that exists within our universe. And I think I questioned things as I grew up. So I think my first introduction into the space industry was when I was introduced to the Mercury missions and the Mercury rockets, especially, because I just found the physics behind them so interesting. And from there, I just went on to learn about the missions, the Apollo missions that followed, and all the other marvels that just went on. And I think my love has only gone on to grow, considering like we're at the best time for space travel now, where we're reaching new frontiers and the technology is just reaching like amazing levels. So I think I started there and it's just keeping on growing as it goes on.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. I think these missions, these historical missions, always kind of, push us to keep going forward and to keep, advancing technology. I mean, we're able to talk today, even if we're in different locations, because of space technology and satellites. So I definitely think there is huge value in the space industry, and I'm glad you're pursuing that. And, last but not least, Robert, what, sparked your passion in aerospace?
Just to add on to what you and Fadzai are talking about, just the growth, that's been there. I recently watched Don't Look Up, and I was fascinated. Like, they managed to see a comet that was like more than 6 months away, and the amount of technology that goes into being able to see something that is that far away is just incredible. And right now I'm studying telecommunications, and the technologies that just go into this are just amazing, and it just continues to to fuel my love for aerospace. And I've just always wondered what lies beyond that, and my love just continues to grow as technology advances in that way.
Yeah, of course. It's all about the curiosity that we all have that drives us. I think it's just innately, like, all humans are curious, and you guys are all space scouts who are, taking that forward, that curiosity forward, and are trying to discover and innovate, which I think is incredible on your part. And, my next question that I've had for you guys is, could you share your experience in the aerospace industry, specifically being in Zimbabwe? Maybe did you guys have any cool experiences, studying experiences, internships, maybe job experiences? Or also in the other way, did you maybe have any difficulties, like stereotypes, or any problems that you had to overcome? So I'm just kind of curious on your experience in the aerospace industry, but in your specific location in Zimbabwe. I would love to learn more about it. And this time, why don't, Fadzai, why don't you start us off?
Sure thing, definitely. So I think on my experience side, I had an opportunity to have an internship at the National Aviation Authority here in Zim. And I think from that experience alone, it was amazing how I was able to then study the aviation systems we have in place in Zim, and maybe also some of the studies that are going on to elevate the technology we have here. And I also had the opportunity to interact with aviation companies that would come down here, that would come down this side, and the technologies they have, and their aircraft especially, which I had the opportunities to sometimes facilitate, overview, and inspect sometimes. And I think that experience just drove me to love it even more, because I got to see where aviation technology currently stands. And I think one of the difficulties you'll generally face, maybe if I say from the Zim perspective, is that maybe lots of people don't think that we have a booming or thriving aerospace industry. But then, so when you try and go out, you try to learn, you try to talk to people, they're like, but is it really applicable here? And I think I've overcome that challenge, or I've tried to overcome it by just talking to people about seeing how we are growing here and the strides that we're making and the connections we're making, which are allowing us to grow at a very steady rate currently.
Yeah, thank you for that incredible response. I think, just hearing it from you, first off, your incredible space internship experiences, they sound wonderful and have really contributed to your growth, but also just hearing about that stereotype of how sometimes people kind of, when you're approaching them, they're like, oh, is this even why a space career? Does it really matter in Zimbabwe? But just these, different techniques that we rely on, like water filtration techniques, for example. Water filtration is big on the ISS and other space missions. And to see these water filtration techniques being used in different parts of the world to help, create more access to clean water, I think is so important. And I think just overcoming these stereotypes and showing people how they have applicability to daily life is so important. And something that I want to add real quick is in a few months, I'm going to be actually going with a team to Zimbabwe to spread space education with all of these incredible space scouts. And one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to work to educate the public and all students around there the value of space. So, really thank you for sharing that perspective. Yeah, and Mufaro, what about you?
Well, about my experience, if you call reading books and watching movies experience, then yeah, probably.
Definitely.
But yeah, so I've got that experience, but actually like experience in the actual industry, practically, I didn't. And I think the main thing is that when I was in high school, I think people who actually focused on aerospace, there was a few people and they came this one time, like they came over, but like, and they were saying like, you could contact us and like get us like on these social media platforms and, but I mean, if you learn in a remote area, like the accessibility is, a bit on the downside. So that's what it was for me. But this is the experience that I'm getting, in addition to books and movies. So yeah, that's that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I think this is what I love about the Space Scouts initiative is we're working to gather all students from around the world, various parts, kind of outreaching to them and all connecting you guys together to form these relationships, to learn from each other and to grow together because we all love space and I think it can bring humanity together. So I'm really excited about this new initiative that we're starting. And so, very exciting. And Andworth, what about you?
Thank you. Being in the aerospace industry has been interesting since my first day, but I can't really say I have that much experiences out of class. But yes, in class and practicals, they have been so good and interesting. And yes, there were moments when it was awkward because of gender issues. Like here in Zimbabwe, actually a minimum number of ladies are in the engineering department. So it was a little to try to fit in because of gender, but yeah, I'm trying to be there and trying to like be productive in that environment.
Yeah, and that is so inspiring. I think it's so surprising how, to this day in the 21st century, there's still a huge disparity of girls and women in engineering departments and I think physics classes. And, to see you and of course, Bekezela, taking the steps forward to break that glass ceiling, I'm incredibly inspired. And so, thank you for just kind of pushing through those stereotypes and making paths for future women who are going to follow your footsteps. And Bekezela, what about you? Did you have kind of a similar experience? Did you have other cool internships?
I think my experience is similar, in the sense that I didn't go to a place that actually offered me to practice on aerospace engineering or astrophysics, but basically it's just me researching. And also because of my field, what I'm studying right now, computer science, I know that you can kind of use a pre-trained model or train a model for deep learning, like how they're using the telescopes to learn different things or objects that they find in space. So during my spare time, basically that's what I'm doing and just researching, but going to work somewhere where I can actually train on it, I haven't.
Yeah, I think that's completely okay. I think those experiences you were talking about are actually more valuable. I think you learn a lot when you just kind of figure out what you're interested in and you explore and create those opportunities. So I'm glad you're able to find that space. And you mentioned telescopes, so I have to mention the James Webb Telescope. They released a few pictures yesterday on social media, like the first pictures taken, its selfie that it took, and I was so excited. I think that was an incredible historical moment, and I can't wait to see as technology grows.
Yeah, it was true.
Yeah, definitely. And Robert, what about you?
I think my experiences are similar to those of Mufaro. I haven't really had any professional experience in the field, but I'm a big Marvel fan, so Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Endgame, there's just so much to discover out there. And, there might actually be life forms there, like a talking raccoon and a big purple man and all these things. And I'm just really curious, and I also have YouTube experience, so watching SpaceX missions and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you bring up an incredible point, which is all about social media and movies. I think media is the best way to get kids engaged or students engaged to learning about space. I think YouTube has become such an incredible platform these days to do this, which is why I think starting a YouTube channel is so important. But yeah, I think those are incredible points with social media and outreach. I know like space movies, like I think there was like a Mars movie. I'm forgetting the name of the title, but it was like a mission to Mars movie. I think it was Martians, and I just fell in love with traveling to Mars ever since I watched that movie, and the excitements that come along with it. So I can definitely agree, and I'm sure everybody on the panel, I kind of see like heads shaking, so I'm pretty sure they can agree as well. Yeah, and so my next question for you guys is a little bit more specific about space itself. I know we were talking about what got you in this space, but I'm curious about your opinions. So, maybe Andworth, you can start us this time, and maybe you can share, what excites you about the future of the aerospace industry and what makes you nervous? Maybe something that you're scared about happening in the industry. Do you want to kind of take that question and start us off?
Okay, I think the future of the aerospace industry is very bright with the advancing technologies. For example, with the introduction of reusable rockets by the SpaceX, I think space will be a perfect place for exploration and research.
Yeah, and what like kind of makes you a little bit nervous about the industry? Is there like maybe like a fear that you have? Maybe you think we're not being safe in our practices, or we're going to explore too much and we're not going to be able to, take care of space junk. Maybe is there any fear that kind of comes to your mind?
Okay, I think as much as we are designing and building new flying machines, I've got a fear of like maybe harming the atmosphere itself with the chemicals maybe we use to design these flying machines. So I just hope we'll try to be on the safe side in all these designings and buildings.
That's a great point, because Elon Musk is all about renewable energy, which is why he did this electric cars. And with the space launches, I feel like there's a launch every day. That's a lot of CO2 emissions. That's a lot of gases that are going into the atmosphere that are not very good for the climate change effect that we're having right now. So I think that's definitely a concern that we should be having. So thank you for bringing that up. Robert, what about you? What makes you excited? What makes you nervous?
Well, the developments definitely make me excited. Those get me excited, like the reusable rockets that Andworth mentioned. And there's the issue of space junk though. Again, there's a movie I watched where I don't know which year it was, but then there was this year where there wasn't even any more sun, like the sun wasn't visible anymore from Earth, and like it was just this dark place, with just junk all over, like dead rockets, dead satellites all over the place. And that makes me a little bit nervous, and that's a concern that I have. And it would be nice to come up with a solution as to what exactly to do with all of that stuff. And also the probability of us actually becoming a multi-planetary species, that is interesting. And I was listening to a podcast where Elon Musk was talking about how it would be really great if we could move to like a new planet, so that we the resources on Earth, we're really fighting for those. So it would be great if we could move like a part of the population to like a different planet. And I just have these really big dreams, which might not be realistic now, but I'm really hoping that we can actually come up with some logical steps towards solving some of these problems that are looming.
Yeah, I definitely can see. I think you kind of answered the excitement and the fear kind of 2 in 1 to the response. And I think that's an incredible idea. First off, I think what excites me is definitely the idea of going to another planet, to kind of finding that other atmosphere that we could potentially, live in, because I feel like we're kind of reaching that carrying capacity here on Earth, and we're not being very eco-friendly. And I think having that second chance to kind of split our population, I think is a very interesting idea. And I'm curious, you kind of were saying it's kind of a dream, it's unrealistic, but I actually think we might not be as unrealistic as we're thinking. Maybe in 50 years, we could be thinking about this again in a more realistic manner, because I think in the past 10 years, if we've seen, so much technology has changed. I think from being more accessibility, definitely changed. And Robert, were you about to say something? I saw you kind of unmuted.
I was about to say yes. Like in the past 10 years, we have made so much progress. Comparing the past 10 years to like the previous 20, 50 years, like we have made so much development such that, yeah, I think you might be right. It might be possible.
You never know. I definitely think it's realistic. Yeah, and you were talking about space junk, and I think it kind of gives me a reminder of the Lorax movie. I don't know if you guys watched the Lorax. I kind of see some nods. So it's like, about like our planet and the trees all being cut off because of industrialization. And we've always had this fear of, what are we going to do without trees? What are we going to do when we ruin our atmosphere? And I think this kind of same fear is put in with space junk when you were telling me about this movie you watched. And I think we have to be definitely very cautious about what we're putting out there, because we all don't own this land. This is just kind of the universe that we happen to just see and belong in. And I think we need to protect it and maintain it and preserve its beauty. So I think these are definitely ideas that we can be thinking of as we all are future pioneers in the aerospace industry. So yeah, thank you for those points. Fadzai, what about you? What makes you excited? What makes you nervous?
I think the greatest thing is in how we've come, and like that are being made about the satellite telescope, we're seeing and seeing further into.
Oh, I think he had to drop off because of internet connections, but no worries. Bekezela, what about you? What do you think makes you excited? What makes you nervous?
So a lot of stuff makes me excited, but I would say black holes. Yeah, I really want to know what happens when something goes into a black hole, because there are so many theories about someone getting spaghettified. So I am really interested in that. And also, it was kind of recent. I don't remember what the name is, but it went close to the sun. I think it's the solar probe. I don't remember the exact
It was like
name, but yeah.
cornea, or yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was something around that. I remember that.
So I'm like you and Edward were talking about that. Back then, we wouldn't even think that they would put something so close to the sun's atmosphere, but they managed to do that recently. So I think that's pretty exciting. In general, basically everything about space. If you start talking to me about space, I am just going to leave everything that I'm doing and I'm just gonna be talking. And then something that I would fear would be basically, since people are going outside to bring stuff back here on Earth because they want to research on it, my fear would be that in other cases they might have to bring some kind of organism alive. So my fear would be it comes and then contamination on Earth. Yeah, and something we don't know everything that's out there, so we wouldn't know what we're bringing in on Earth. So that would be my biggest fear. Like, what will be the outcome of bringing something like that? What's gonna happen? Yeah.
Yeah, those are really incredible points. Again, you guys all have such different ideas, but they're all so valid. I think first off, with your excitement, I can definitely agree with, the space missions. I think getting so close to the sun, but also black holes. You're not going to believe it, but in 6th grade, I literally was reading this paper. Like, I wasn't like too into space at that point. I was interested by the Earth, but I never thought I'd get into a career. But I was actually reading this paper about black holes, and I was like, that is so cool. Like, I want to figure out what is inside that black hole. What is going to happen to everything that goes inside? What if we get sucked in by a black hole? I had all these questions kind of looming around my head. So I think I can definitely agree with what you were saying. And I think about your fear too. I think, as someone who's interested in biology and space biology, as we're trying to advance, what's happening in space, but also astronauts are going to different parts of our planet, maybe landing on the moon again. Are there certain things that are not visible to the human eye, or maybe experiments that we conduct in space that kind of might come back to Earth without us knowing, that could contaminate us? Maybe a disease, a virus. I think we've taken a lot of precautions. NASA's taken a lot of precautions, and other space agencies as well, with like quarantining, making sure astronauts are not in contact once they come back to Earth. But there is always that fear of, something like COVID. What if something like that from another place comes, and some other invasive species that could, impact our ecosystem? So I think those are definitely valid points. So, thank you for sharing that. And Mufaro, what about you? What excites you and what makes you nervous?
Okay, I am definitely with Bekezela. What excites me, it makes me afraid at the same time. It's the whole black holes thing, right? So physicists, right? They've got the whole string theory, they've got the loop quantum theory, right? So without technology, right, at some point, they are going to prove one of those theories. So when they do that, they're going to calculate the math that we can have such and such a machine that will take us close to a black hole, and you won't get the whole spaghettified thing, right? But what if one factor, because it's very complicated math. I mean, I don't do physics now because it was difficult for me. The math was just too much, but I still love math. But I'm saying, if you miss even one factor, imagine what happens, like the catastrophic events that would happen there. And also, besides that, like the sun, it's a big star, right? So I was reading this book, and it was saying like a star has to burn. So there's sort of like a critical point where it should be. There should be energy released and the gravitational attraction that is to it to keep it at a constant, right? Like a constant phase. So what if the gravitational, like the sun, like just burns, right? And there's no more like energy to balance the outward and the inwards, and then the gravity is just too much, and then the planets just crash into each other. That is my worry. That is my worry. Maybe I'm just being paranoid, but definitely my worry.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting outlook onto this. I think you're more coming from the science side. And I've been researching recently about like white dwarfs and what happens to stars once they like explode, or what happens to them. And I've been curious about it. So I can definitely see where your concerns are coming from. And some stars, they do form into black holes, I think. So I mean, I've been researching a lot, so I can definitely see where you're coming from. And there's just, so much that we don't know about our solar system yet, or the universe itself. We're just scratching the surface. Even that, so we definitely have a long way to go. And I think your concerns and excitements are extremely valid. And we have a new space scout who joined us. I mean, I know Fadzai kind of had to drop because of internet connections, but I'm so excited to introduce Chiedza. She is an incredible girl with incredible energy. So maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit about what you're studying, and also kind of share what got you into the space industry before we kind of continue.
Hello guys, so I'm Chiedza Banda. I'm a fourth year law student at the University of Zimbabwe. And what got me into space was just the books. They were the most interesting books when I was growing up. So I guess that is how I started. And then my perspective with space, it's how space can help the African to grow, and how we can utilize space technology to be applicable to the day-to-day African farmer, school child, and just the industry itself, and how it can really help our own local industry. So that is my approach to space. And hopefully through the Space Scouts program, I can approach other kids especially, and also other people who are involved in industry who don't realize how vital it is that there are guys in space who are doing research, and this research can be used to actually predict the rainfall patterns, the strength of maybe the sun affecting their plants and stuff like that. So that is me in general. Thank you.
Yeah, I think first off, thank you for introducing yourself, but also thank you for, sharing more about, why you're excited to be a space scout, because I think all of us, as you might have seen, are very passionate about space and about space communication. We want to not only gain knowledge, but also share that knowledge with others. And so, anybody who's watching who wants to be a space scout and join these incredible students can definitely join, and all of that information is down below. But, thank you guys so much for, that information. And thank you, Chiedza. I had one last question for you guys to kind of wrap up the interview. And this is, this is very, overview kind of general question. And it's, what advice do you guys have for students across the world, maybe in Zimbabwe specifically, really just all students who want to pursue a career in STEM, or specifically aerospace, just advice that you would give to, little versions of yourselves, maybe in elementary, middle school, beginning of high school, just advice that you wish you knew before you got to where you are today. And I know you guys have a long way to go, but I'm curious on what advice you guys would give. And this time, why don't we start off with Bekezela? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Okay. The advice I would give to my younger self would be, you have to be able to discern from the advice that you're getting. Because I understand that a lot of people have advice to give you, and maybe they think that it's best for you, but you have to go with what you believe in and what you want for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to pursue whatever it is that you choose, and you're the one who's going to have to do that same thing each and every day. So yeah, you should be able to discern, go with your gut feeling, or whatever you want to call it, and also believe in yourself. Even if people doubt you, you're gonna have to be the person who picks yourself up and tell yourself that I can do this. Because if they could send someone to the moon right now, we can say that anything basically is possible, because some of the things we didn't even know that they could happen, but every day scientists prove us wrong that these things can happen. So you should always believe.
Yeah, that is phenomenal advice. And I know I'm going to take that to heart. I literally have these, like a plate that, like a letter thing that on my desk that literally says, you believe in yourself. It's kind of an affirmation. And I know that is incredible advice, because we should all first believe in our ability. And the comparison you gave, if we can send a man to the moon from this planet, and we're planning to go even beyond what we know, what we can see with our telescopes and the James Webb, I know that we all can accomplish what we want to do. So, really thank you for that advice. Yeah, and Andworth, what about you?
Okay, so when I was young, I thought designing and building flying machines was for a certain group of people, like those who were always on top of the class, because I was actually an average student. But later on, I realized everyone has got a brilliant idea to offer to the world. So those who want to pursue STEM field, I think they should go for it. You should take the challenge and keep dreaming high, and you shouldn't let yourself down.
Incredible. Again, very inspirational advice. I think the one thing that you really said that stood out to me was, don't ever like put yourself down or get that imposter syndrome, because space is literally for all. And that's what I advocate for with Ignited Thinkers. You don't have to be you are a rocket scientist, but you don't have to actually be a genius in math or, a genius in science to be a part of the industry. And I think, Andworth, you bring that point up greatly. You can be just really passionate and you can chase after your dreams and always aim higher. You don't have to bring yourself down because you don't think you're as smart, because there are so many careers. And even if you want to go into the STEM part of the aerospace industry, you can do it if you're passionate about it. And passion kind of precedes and overtakes literally everything else. So, thank you for that advice. I'm sure a lot of students out there can relate with it. Robert, what advice would you give?
The advice I give is, dream big and don't limit yourself, because a lot of the time people dream limited dreams. And what I mean by this is people dream, how do I put this? The English is running away. But the point is, people dream, people's dreams are constrained by the environment that they're in. And I think it would be a great encouragement, to just go outside at night, just look at the stars and just dream as big as you can. And, you never know where you'll end up. Like, there's no harm in.
Yeah, no, that comes really home when you were saying that. I think that really, touches me, because that's advice that I live off every day. Being in, of course, America has been a great way for me to get a lot of opportunities, but also I'm a first generation to America. Both my parents are from a different country, and you guys being in Zimbabwe, and I've talked with students from different rural parts of the world. I know it can be difficult. We're kind of restricted by our environment or our, social awareness. And I think it's so important to always just look out into the sky and be like, this world is so big, the opportunities are endless, and if we want to do it, we can achieve it. I mean, otherwise, how are we going to break the glass ceiling, right? If we don't take that step forward and do something no one else did, we're never going to break that little layer of thin things that are blocking us and restricting us. We have to break out of that little container. And I think that's incredible advice, to always just dream big, think big, because nothing is impossible. And I know, because as a basketball player myself, when I was younger, I always kind of lived by this quote: you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I was always scared that I'm going to miss making that basketball shot and making my team lose. But then I realized, if I don't even take the shot, then nothing's going to happen. The ball's just going to be there. But if I take that shot, maybe I'll get it in. So I think that kind of correlates with your advice to dream big. So thank you. Mufaro, why don't you kind of go ahead and share your advice?
Okay. The thing that I love doing, right, and I love it, is I love fixing things, right? Like, my door is squeaky, I can grease it myself. A screw is not, it's loose, I can fix it myself, right? But societal expectations, if my dad or someone sees that a screw is loose, they won't call me to fix it, they call my brother, or they'll call any male who is around to do it instead of me. So because I love doing that, I saw myself doing engineering at some point, and that meant that I had to take physics, right? And I want to say thank you to people like Andworth, right? Like, to the younger me, it means so much, right? That she is rising in a society where it's mostly males who do that stuff. Yeah, because I could have taken that path and went through engineering because I saw myself doing that. But then the moment I wanted to pick physics, I looked around the room and I saw that guys took physics and the girls took biology. And that moment I froze. And my teacher was like, you should take physics. You should be the only girl to take physics. But well, fear got the best of me and I didn't take it. But well, I don't regret where I am. But sometimes I wonder if I had gone through that path, maybe, I don't know, maybe I would have been somewhere better. Maybe not. I don't know. So my advice is do not let society depict what you should and should not do. Just go for whatever you want. You shouldn't care what people are going to think or are going to say. That's
Wow,
it.
yeah. When you were saying that, I literally am tearing up right now because I think this is not a problem in a specific area, but this is a problem, I think, mostly worldwide. I think, there's still certain expectations or, norms like, girls are teachers, they should be teachers, nurses, but not really like hardcore engineers. But you can, pull up your bootstraps, you can be a fashionable engineer, you can still do it. And I think that is a testament to, like what you guys were all saying. I mean, everyone on this call is inspirational. But I especially like, I think, being a woman myself, I think it's really inspirational that you guys are kind of breaking those cultural norms. I mean, I've had people tell me like, like pick a safe career, don't pick something that's so difficult for you. I don't know if they said that because I was a girl or just because they didn't like know a lot about space, but I've had that comment to me. And I think it's so important that we're all breaking that glass ceiling and we're going above and beyond. So Mufaro, like, thank you for that. Like, it literally just made my heart feel so good. So thank you so much. Chiedza, what about you?
Hello. So for me, it's just that you have to love space and you have to really understand what love is. Love means that even when you're lonely, you don't give up on your dream. It's going to be a very lonely journey to begin with. But then you find that as you grow older, you gravitate towards people who actually like the things that you like this group, for example. So if you were to tell me 10 years ago that I would be with a group of space nerds, I would tell you, you are lying and you're joking and you don't know what you're talking about. But then that is my message. It will start out lonely, but then you have to love it. I am a law student, but I'm still involved in the industry. Why? Because my love for space, my love for stars has persevered throughout the years. And people around me, I would actually pull out my sister and her kids, like that's this how they cross look up. And right now it's so inspiring that my niece, who is, I think she's 8, she has now started to have this interest with the stars and planets. So I'm really happy that my interest in space is inspiring those around me to actually look up. So that's my advice.
Yeah, for sure. You have to love what you're doing. I think never giving up. Also, space policy. One thing I love to advocate for is interdisciplinary. So you can combine any career with space. So space policy, space law, computer science in space. I think there's just so many things going around in the space industry. So I'm glad that you're still able to kind of pursue your love for aerospace alongside policy. I think that is 100% incredible. And of course, this incredible group. I don't think I would have, literally saying, like, if you told me a month ago that I would be talking with students from across the world who are interested in space and I can talk with all of you guys, I would not believe you. And I think this is incredible to just connect with you guys, which is why I'm so excited for the Space Scouts initiative, because it's going to be a virtual platform where everyone can connect with each other from across the world, literally on your screens. And I think that's just a testament to how powerful aerospace is becoming. And I'm so excited to talk with all of you guys. And we have Fadzai who joined us. Thank you so much. You came at the perfect time because right now our final question for everyone is, what advice would you give to your younger self and other students who are interested in STEM and aerospace? So do you want to, kind of end off our discussion together today and share the advice that you would give to the younger version of yourself? You're on mute, by the way. I know with Zoom, we have a lot of this mute problem all the time. Oh, okay. Here you go.
Okay, is it good?
Perfect, I can hear you.
Okay, so I think what I would have told myself, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, would have been dream big. The world is now at a point where there is no limitation. There are no more boundaries. If you can dream it, you can achieve it. And you used to sing the stars are the limit, sky is the limit, but now it's not the limit anymore. Galaxies are being opened to us. So dream big and anything you want can happen. And I advise students to go into any field that you're in. I hear Chiedza was talking about how she's in law and she's going to buy it. you're interested in biochemistry, and you're going to combine that. So whatever you do, you can always find a way to love. If you love whatever it is, even if it's sports, you could aim to be the first man to play golf on the moon and golf on Mars. So always strive to merge whatever you love and the career path you're going down, and you can always combine them. And I think always have at the back of your mind to strive for the purpose of research and exploration, and not maybe for profit and exploitation. Because if we do it that way, we'll continue to grow, and you can always better the people who come after you.
Yeah, even if you weren't here for that last question, I think you really encompassed everyone's responses. I mean, with Robert and Mufaro a little bit with the interdisciplinary studies, as well as Robert's idea of how important it is to, dream big and to go beyond expectations. I think you really encapsulated everyone's ideas together. So, thank you for that incredible advice, Fadzai. And, talking with all of you guys today, I know I'm definitely leaving this conversation more inspired and to continue reaching out to students. I think space is so powerful, and seeing all of your genuine passions in the industry, I think it's a testament to how certain locations, certain people are not, fit for space. Everyone can be a part of space because we all love it, and we all are curious about what's beyond, how our planet works, how we were all formed here today. And I think this is literally just the power of the aerospace sector. So I want to thank all of you guys genuinely for your time today. I'm genuinely inspired by all of you, and I cannot wait to continue the Space Scouts initiative and see you guys in person in Zimbabwe in a few months.